Thank you for everyone for coming. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the October meeting of Tampa Historic Streetcar, Inc. Let's skip the Pledge of Allegiance and move to the approval of minutes, please. Assuming everyone has read them.
I motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion. May I have a second, please?
Welcome to WebEx. Enter your access code or
Do I have a second for the minutes, please?
enter your attendee ID followed by pound.
Second.
Oh, we have a second. Thank you. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Proposed say nay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak?
No, sir. There was no one pre-registered for public comment.
Well, thank you. The next item on our agenda is a presentation by Milton Martinez, Chief Transportation Engineer in the City of Tampa, on the status of the Envision Tampa Streetcar plan. Mr. Martinez, thanks for joining us today. We know you're very busy.
Thank you. Board members, good afternoon. My name is Milton Martinez. I'm the Chief Transportation Engineer for the City of Tampa, and I've also been serving as a project manager for the Envision Tampa Streetcar Extension and Modernization project. So today I'll be providing a brief overview of the status of the project. When we last presented on the project to this board was back in May 16th of 2018, and a lot has happened since then. At that time, we had just submitted a request letter to FTA for entry into the Small Starts Capital Improvement Grant process as a Small Starts project into project development. Subsequent to that, we received the FTA approval letter to enter into project development on June 20th of 2018. And since then, we've been progressing the project into project development. At the time, we had just completed the feasibility phase of the project. We had kind of landed on a proposed alignment and held subsequent to that open house to go over to share with the public the concepts for the stops and the proposed alignment using the Tampa, Florida one-way pair. And we recently submitted our initial rating request in August of this year, and that which is currently under evaluation by the FTA. Do I have control of the presentation, or do I need to?
You can just say next slide whenever you would like it advanced.
Okay, next slide. So the project team for this phase of the project has been the City of Tampa has kind of taken the lead for the feasibility and project development phase, with FDOT serving as a study sponsor. They made this project possible through a grant that we entered in through a joint project agreement, where they funded almost 50% of the costs associated with this phase. And then HART has also been part of the project study management team over the last 4 years, with the goal that as the project develops, it would serve as the FTA grant recipient and potential operator of the system. Next slide, please. So the project, the purpose and need evaluation. This is a quick overview of the project goals for this project. We're looking to modernize and extend the existing system to extend it further through the core of downtown and beyond. And extend at the time also extend in addition to the extension, also expand the service hours as well, which the FDOT is also assisted with a grant, a 3-year grant that we're currently in the third year or entering the third year for expanded service operations. And also looking to connect to all the premier cultural and entertainment from Ybor City through Water Street, through the Convention Center, through downtown, and beyond. And also, this will also serve as a ability to provide the first and last mile connectivity to other potential regional projects, and it also sets the stage for future extensions. So this project will not preclude the ability to extend the system either northward into Tampa Heights and Seminole Heights, and also looking potentially going westward towards the airport or looping back towards Ybor City. Next slide, please. So again, as most of you know, the context, the background, this is showing the proposed alignment, including the existing system. Again, punching through downtown, there's been a lot of development ongoing and anticipated within the downtown Center City area, including projects such as Water Street and many other projects that are currently under development, breaking ground, or in construction throughout the core of downtown. So this is serving to complement and also to provide that the ability to provide that alternative mode of transportation for folks commuting, working, or attending entertainment venues or other social activities within the core of downtown. Next slide, please. So, as part of this project, we've also been coordinating with a lot of the other projects that are being evaluated and studied within the region, so that we can serve to have the synergy between the projects. So we've been coordinating over the course of the last few years with DOT on their intermodal center, and they're going through that process. I think they're getting close to, as you know, they were looking at an intermodal center in downtown, one in West Shore, one in Gateway in the Pinellas County area, USF one, and also one in Pasco, Wesley Chapel area. So we've been coordinating with the team on the location within downtown, but we're also continuing to advance our project with an eye towards trying to find opportunities to have that link, that connection with some of the more regional transit projects in the area. We've also had some discussions with the Bridge and Brightline team. That's kind of been on hold for a while there, but we had been coordinating as well with them, and also with on Hart's arterial BRT project as well. Next slide, please. So part of the project development, we're looking, this project, conceptually, we're looking to have a one-seat trip from end to end. So earlier on, there was a potential for, there had been conversations about whether they would retain the heritage vehicles in Ybor, have a modern system, but we felt it was important to have, for the success of the system, that it be a one-seat trip from end to end. We're looking at full-day frequent service, high-capacity vehicles, and also provide for stops that have level boarding. The current stops have the high block, but we're looking with the modern vehicle to have for quicker alighting and boarding, and to have the ADA accessibility for different modes, including wheelchairs, bicycles, and other micromobility devices. The ability to have the lower platform, deploying platform access that not only provides more equity, but it provides faster boarding and alighting opportunities with that system, and also provide more reliable service, a more frequent service. And then we're also looking with the project to minimize the impacts to roadway capacity, and also try to minimize impacts to existing sidewalks and parking and any cultural or archaeological resources within the corridor. Next slide, please. So to provide an overview of the current project for the extension, It's a 1.3 mile extension. The track miles is actually double or a little bit more than that because, but in terms of the length of the actual service area, it's a 1.3 mile extension that will use the Tampa and Florida one-way pairs, majority of which is state roads north of Kennedy, and with the turnaround at Palm Avenue, so we'll have connections to the Tampa Heights area. And it would primarily run on exclusive Guideway, except where the Florida Avenue turns northward, and the lane, the typical section changes at that point to a three-lane section, and it's a little bit tighter, constrained right-of-way. So we'd be looking for that portion to be in mixed traffic as it goes through underneath the interstate. But at that point, we would shift. The alignment would be in the inside lane, and then it would shift over to the, at the light, we would shift over to the right side of the road so that we avoid the queues that develop for the left turn movement to get onto I-275. And then southbound on Tampa Street, it would also be, the alignment would be primarily on the inside lane to again avoid any conflicts with the right turn movement onto I-275 or exit from I-275. Next slide, please. Oh, one more item on the extension, which is also shown here. We're looking at the additional stations when they're considered as station pairs, since the alignment is on two roads. We're looking at a total of six stops when the stations are paired. When the stops are paired. Considered as one stop on Florida northbound and Tampa Street southbound. So for the existing system, in order to accommodate the modern streetcar vehicle, we'll have to make several modifications to all of the existing stops to again remove the high block and make the vertical elevation compatible with the streetcar. And also, with the extension portion, where there could be a potential for having also bus rapid transit in the fixed Guideway, we will also be able to accommodate the level boarding for buses as well. So in addition to the stops being reconstructed to accommodate the modern vehicle, we would also look to expand the existing streetcar barn. So it looks, initially we were considering the potential for having to acquire right away for another center to accommodate the streetcars, but after evaluating during our project development and evaluating the existing site, it looks like we have developed several configurations, and it looks like we will be able to accommodate the new fleet and some of the replica vehicles that are retained within the existing footprint. So that's going to be a cost savings as well on the project. And then we would also look to modify. There's a few curves within the existing Guideway that may need to be reconfigured because the modern vehicles may require a slightly larger turning radius than the replica vehicles require. So those locations are off the crossing with the CSX rail, just south of there, and then near the aquarium, and also at Old Warren Street and Channelside Drive near the Warren Street project that's currently under development. Next slide, please. So this is just this is not to say this is the type of vehicle, because there are a lot of different models and manufacturers available, but this is just an example of what some of the potential modern streetcar vehicles that may be part of the fleet or incorporated into the fleet with some of the characteristics and length and width and capacity for those. In comparison, the existing streetcar vehicles are a little bit wider than these. They're a little, they're not as long, shorter in length, and they're also taller than the modern vehicles. So the other advantage of the modern streetcar vehicle is that we will, during the next phase of design, we could evaluate, we're going to be looking at the potential for the vehicles to go off-wire for a portion of the alignment. So that would, because of the battery capacity of the vehicle, they have the ability to go off-wire. So that's something that we will be looking at during the design phase of the project as well. Next slide, please. So our current cost estimates are capital costs are in year of expenditure about just under $235 million, and with an O&M operating cost per year at about $8 million per year. And this is the breakdown is provided based on the standard FTA templates that are used. So we developed the cost estimates and information using those templates, and that's what was submitted as part of the ratings request submittal. We also initially, when we submitted our initial request back in 2018, at that time we had contemplated only requesting funding for the extension to the system, but subsequent to that, we've had some preliminary discussions with FTA where, because of the way the system is structured, there really isn't an independent utility for modernizing the system independent of extending it. So we wouldn't be looking at modernizing the system without, it wouldn't make sense to modernize without an extension. So we submitted the project as one cohesive project. We received preliminary feedback that the project could be considered, the overall project could be considered for funding as under the Small Starts program, and so that's how we submitted our application, or our rating request was based on the entire project and not just on the extension. Next slide, please. And so this is just an initial scenario for the future funding. We're all waiting on the decision on the surtax in order to start having some more clarity and definition on what our funding opportunities will be. So that's part of the things that will need to be addressed as the project moves forward, and before we're able to get a grant agreement decision over the next couple of years. So we started to work with, we've been working with HART on, and over the course of the next year, on determining the prorated share of the costs and responsibilities for the different project elements. So those are some of the decisions that will have to be made during the next phase of the project. So for this initial rating request, this is one scenario, but before we can execute the final agreements, we'll have to, a lot of these things will have to be pinned down. The funding, the implementation will all have to be pinned down, and all the agreements in place for that. Next slide, please. So the current status, as I mentioned earlier, we submitted the rating request submittal in August. Our completing our FTA coordination is ongoing. We selected the preferred alternative on Tampa and Florida. We're completing the NEPA and 106 review. We anticipate completing that by sometime in 2021. And we are also going to start the 30% design later this fall and start it into 2021, which will include, during that phase, will include the surveying, roadway design, the further traffic analysis to determine completing the signalization analysis, permitting, utility coordination, the preliminary architectural design elements, working towards the readiness documentation and the design criteria. So one of the other things we'll need to determine in coordination with HART is whether this project, the delivery method for the project, whether this will be a design build or design build. And we have the flexibility in the design phase to, if the decision is to go to design build, for the consultant to prepare the design criteria package for that procurement. And they will also be completing final NEPA and design documentation as well, and develop an operational plan during that time. And one of the other things we'll need to coordinate in the next phase is there's going to be 2 new CSX crossings, Florida and Polk, and Tampa and Polk, and so we'll need to begin those stakeholder coordinations with CSX as we progress the 30% design. Next slide, please. So the ratings request submittal is, as I mentioned earlier, something that's required if we're seeking federal funding. It's necessary to be evaluated with other competing projects before the FTA would issue a grant agreement. It's based on the rating will be based on 50% of it will be based on project justification ratings, and then the other 50% will be based on local financial and commitment criteria. And we felt that we were at a point with the project that it was to get the project into the queue to at least start for an initial rating request, that it was important for us to do that at this stage. And as we develop the project through 30%, we will resubmit as some of this other, like the funding, financial, the procurement, the governance, as some of that, as that becomes more defined, we will submit, we are anticipating submitting for an updated rating request in the future, so that as the project is developed further. Next slide, please. So prior to obtaining the grant agreement, we'll have to complete all of the readiness documents. We'll also have to work through with HART through the governance agreements to update all the existing governance agreements to reflect the new, modernized, and extended system. And then we'll also have to complete all of our NEPA and environmental design clearances, and not to be overlooked as well is the budgeting and funding commitments will have to be defined prior to being able to enter into a grant agreement as well. Next slide, please. So currently, we are in this is sort of the overall timeline of the project, but we're looking to have start of service in late 2024, early 2025. We're looking to, we submitted our ratings request in August. That's currently under review by FTA. We're looking to begin a 30% design later this fall, early winter. We will also need to complete the remaining NEPA process and also work over the next few months with HART on the updating or restating of the governance and financial commitments, and getting ourselves ready for completing all the grant readiness documentation, so that we are in a position to, if the project is received favorably by FDA, to enter into a small starts grant in the fall, late 2022 timeframe, and then go into procurement, vehicle procurement and construction in the 2023-2024 timeframe. Next slide, please. So I wanted to make a couple other, I didn't mention that we're looking at contemplating up to 10 vehicles for the modern fleet. as we go through the 30% design, we'll refine that. So it could be up to 10, but potentially it could be 9 vehicles, but we're estimating about 10 vehicles. And that's based on operations of 10-minute headways during peak periods and 15-minute headways on weekends and evenings. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Mr. Martinez, thank you very much. It's a great presentation, and it's clearly a lot of progress is being made. I really commend the city and CART for pushing forward. Are there questions from the board, please?
President English, there are no hands raised for questions through the WebEx.
Milton, thank you so much for your presentation. And Danielle, would you be sure that all of our board members receive this presentation, please?
Yes, sir, we will.
Thank you. Okay, let's go back to our agenda. And thanks again, Milton. Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay, Streetcar System Performance Report. Mr. Allen?
Good afternoon. Brian Allen, Director of Streetcar Operations. For September, our ridership was 33,769. That's down considerably from last year, which was 68,412. So we're still feeling the effects of the pandemic. For September, we experienced 27 missed trips. Most of those were caused by the CSX interlocking. And our on-time performance for the month was 99.6%. We had no accidents or incidences, and we also didn't provide any special service. The only other thing I really have to report is that tomorrow we will be doing interlock testing between CSX Amtrak and us with the FRA. And this morning, the Federal Railway Administration did a presentation for the relevant people at heart over the waiver that we have. And if anybody's not familiar with that, we require a waiver with the FRA to cross the CSX property because our equipment doesn't meet FRA regulations. So they gave us a good presentation about why that was required and why it's important. And also they explained to us about the 19 other transit properties across the United States that have these waivers. Our waiver, so everybody knows, was renewed in 2018 and it'll run for 5 years. And the one nice thing we did get out of it was that Memphis also has a waiver to cross Class 1 railroad. And they told in their waiver application last year, they put that their people were trained at heart. And the FRA said that looked favorably upon them because we had such a good reputation.
That's great.
So does anybody have any questions for me?
That's a good report, Mr. Allen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is legal and legislative reports. Mr. Smoker?
Thank you, Mr. President. Dave Smoker here. I have nothing to report other than we do have one action item, which is the execution of the First Amendment to the Public Station Sponsorship Agreement. By way of a little background, in July 2019, CART, THS, and the city and Publix entered into a sponsorship agreement involving the Port of Tampa base station. And that agreement expired in July of 2020. At the board's request, we've moved forward and have negotiated between THS, the city, and HART and Publix a First Amendment to the agreement. Essentially what it does is several things. First of all, it extends the previous agreement for 1 year, retroactive to July 26, 2020, in exchange for a payment of $25,000 to THS. In addition, I think the parties recognize perhaps it might be wise to provide for the possibility of additional extensions And so the agreement provides for 2 additional one-year term extensions. It's at the option of Publix. And again, it's in exchange for payment of $25,000 to THS for each additional extension. Additionally, it came to light in the discussions that it was possible that Publix might want to modify the actual station signage itself during, for example, the middle of a term. And so what we did was we made an additional provision for Publix to modify the signage during the middle of a term, and pursuant to which Publix would be obligated to pay for the costs of modifying the signage during the middle of a term. All in all, one other thing that emerged was that the cost of maintaining the signage was not going to be as much as the cost of initially installing it. And so while the dollar amount that goes directly to THS, which is $20,000, stays the same, the actual cost of maintaining and replacing the signage is now $5,000 instead of the previous initial installation charge of $10,000. And those were numbers that we received from the signage contractor, who felt comfortable that these were realistic costs for replacing and or maintaining the signage. All the other terms of the initial agreement remain in full force and effect, and the agreement is also subject to approval by the city and Hart. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have questions? Okay, then may I have a motion for approval, please? Motion for approval, please.
I'll motion to approve.
Adam Harden, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Good, thank you. While we've got you, Mr. Smoker, the presentation by Milton has reminded me, Adam Harden was interested in you investigating the title information about the 2 crossings downtown of the CSX tracks. Have you made any progress in that regard?
Yeah, it's in process. I've contacted the title agent and have provided them with the relevant property information. So I would expect to be able to get some results fairly soon, hopefully by the next board meeting. I also noted that apparently there's going to be additional crossings associated with the expansion, and I'm wondering whether anyone is looking at that and any of the issues that might be associated with that. I mean, we're more than happy to do so, but I think at this point we've only been instructed to take a look at the existing ones.
So if I can be recognized.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that if you were to ask the city that they may have researched that, is it the Cass Street alignment already? But I think it would be a good idea to pull title on those as well.
Okay, be happy to do that. And I'm anticipating that I don't think it will be a significant increase in the cost, but if you can authorize the chairman to approve an additional reasonable expenditure for those additional title searches, we can get that out of the way right now.
Sure. May I have a motion, please?
I'll motion to do that.
Please. We have a motion.
Second, Adam. Second,
We have a second. Okay. Any other discussion or questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smoker. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. That's all I have.
The chair's report. Oh, thanks. The chair's report, the only thing I wanted to mention just for information is that the Downtown Partnership in an abundance of caution to do with the virus and social distancing, has chosen not to run the Winter Express streetcar this year from downtown to Ybor and back. And therefore they will not be coming to us for financial assistance. I think it's a wise decision. They're going to have a little open air rubber tire trolley of some kind that circles the Curtis Dixon Park's going to be very spectacular over the holidays, and so they're just going to do everything they're going to do in the park. So we won't be needing to make those arrangements this year, Mr. Allen, particularly. Let's move to the Hart Interim Chief Executive Officer's report. Would that be Ruthie Reyes-Burkhardt?
Yes, good afternoon. This is Ruthie Reyes-Burkhardt, Interim CEO for Hart. Just today, I would like to, just a brief update for this board, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity. So the two streetcars that have had some rebuilding are in progress at GoMaco, which is car 428 and 432. The car bodies have all had corrosion areas repaired. They're being painted. All of the interior panels and seats have been refinished and are waiting for the wiring to be completed before they can be reinstalled. The current schedule has 428 returning to Tampa in late November and 432 just after the first of the year. So attached were the few pictures of some of the work that was being done about 2 weeks ago. We continue to work with the insurance company on the settlement for car 29. That was the vehicle involved with that charter bust earlier this year. We'll have more information regarding the settlement at the next meeting or in November, if that so be it. And streetcar service on Fridays and Saturdays, for reference, will return to the pre-COVID schedule operating until 2 a.m. starting November 15th. And I just want to acknowledge that even though we have been in a COVID environment in 2020, we still sort of wrapped up the year at 652,674 as compared to 850,424 in 2019. So despite the lower ridership, I think we ended off pretty strongly on the streetcar line, and we very much appreciate the staff from Streetcar and all of the work that they've done throughout COVID to keep our customers, motormen safe. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. We all appreciate it, too. We know how hard everyone works to see our system operate and be friendly and efficient and safe. That concludes our regular agenda. We do have marketing reports, City of Tampa financial statements, and I don't see anything else. Is there any comment on those? Any new business? Any old business?
Mr. English, this is Abby Ahern. I have a question.
Sure.
There was an article this morning about the port and the city reaching an agreement on the traffic in the district and how the pedestrians are able to utilize it and possibly cutting it down to one direction each way, one lane each way. Has the port or the city come to the streetcar or Hart to discuss, remote parking and using the streetcar so that that's more equitable for everyone?
Not to my knowledge. I was surprised that this has been, this is blown up at the end, but I kind of understand the port's position, but I also understand the mayor's position and the city's position. It would seem that they have traffic issues 70 days a year. The city could make some temporary adjustments like they do for other big events and help bring parkers in and out and possibly do remote parking. I think that the remote parking probably isn't that attractive to the port because it's revenue for them and for the other people that own lots in the neighborhood. But I'm certainly hoping that that road needs to be a complete street. It's too much traffic driving too fast, and it's hard on pedestrians. And as the mayor said the other day, it was reported in the paper, it's become a very significant residential neighborhood now, and it's not just a commercial neighborhood. So I really hope they work their differences out. And beyond that, I don't know about remote parking.
This is Commissioner Hardy. I can answer a few things on that. I'm not sure if if anything's been worked out with as far as remote parking. I do know that the city has coordinated with HART and has talked to them regarding the additional crossings and some of the other things that come with that project. But I'm not sure if there was anything mentioned about any kind of remote parking.
If I may weigh in, President English, at this time we have not been asked in any way to, if you will, support in a way with remote parking. We have discussed the additional crossings and things that would impact the streetcar system, but we feel that comfortably the streetcar itself is not impacted.
Okay. I'm not sure that answers your question, Abby, except I don't think that conversations occurred. Perhaps HART staff and Mr. Hardy can discuss that offline if there's any value to it. Sounds like an interesting idea.
Yeah, for cruise traffic, you know?
Yeah. We can bring that up. I'll bring that up to the design team.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then I had one other question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Has it been an issue with our urban campers and the decrease in ridership? Has it created more of an influx of the urban campers on the streetcar?
No, we don't believe so. I think what we're seeing is those residents and visitors who are returning back to the open businesses, employment, and residential locations that they choose to ride with. We haven't seen that issue here.
Excellent. I know that the city and the police department are taking extra precautions and making more of a focus for urban campers right now because they are impacting the retailers and restaurants a lot more than they typically would. And so I just wanted to make sure that if there was an issue here, we were included in that conversation.
We have actually, yes ma'am, we have actually met with TPD and our safety division, but it was regarding the separate corridor in the Marion Transit Way and the corridors of our Marion Transit Center, but not on streetcar.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Good.
And that's all my questions.
Well, thank you. Are there any other questions? Hearing none, thank you all for attending today. May I have a motion for adjournment, please?
Motion to adjourn
the meeting.
I think I heard a motion and a second.
Second, yeah.
Great. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right. Thank you all very much for attending. We'll probably have a meeting next month. So have a good day, and we'll see you all soon.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.